Hey everybody, it's Jeremy here, and I just wanted to give you some thoughts on, rather give you my thoughts on the EA Access plan that was announced. If you haven't heard, and you probably have because it's about 5 or 6 day old news now, this is what you get access to: a handful of games in beta form from EA for the Xbox One. It's a console exclusive program. It's $5 a month or $30 a year when they finally roll it out. Now, these kinds of plans might seem controversial, but they've really been around a while, and in a lot of ways that maybe haven't been apparent to the mainstream. The PS Plus rental service of sorts, where you get either a time trial for free or you get full access to a game while you're a member, is very similar but a little bit more all-encompassing. Long before that, and we're talking years and years here, with the OnLive Microconsole, which I've shown off here before, and it's just a little box basically. It was the cloud gaming thing. It was, before there was PlayStation Now, there was OnLive to deliver an underwhelming game streaming service. And that gave you access for $10 a month to not everything in their library, but about, I'd say, 70% of it. That's a rough estimate. That's me going off years old memories. But it was a lot. It was a fairly expansive deal, and I tried it out for a couple months, and I thought, well, it's not the worst $10 I've ever spent, but I can clearly save this $10 either. I'd rather put that towards a Netflix sub or a Hulu sub, something along those lines, where I'm going to get constant value versus renting the right to stream a game, so I could then get an angry email or call from Comcast back when they had tighter bandwidth caps. It wasn't really fun, and it was just not the right time for that technology. But it's a good thing we had that time, because you're able to kind of figure out, okay, these are the issues with game streaming. This is the issue with a game rental payment by month model, where you have no right to it at all. You're just leasing kind of the digital rights, which you can say GameFly rental monthly fee is kind of similar, but a little different. That actually is kind of an idea for another article there. Maybe I'll do something later today on GameFly and how that model is very similar to this, but also very different. Or the price comparisons of an EA Access versus GameFly, how you might save per title. Ouya also just launched their own access plan before the EA deal was announced, and that gave you, because it was actually wound up being only a one-day deal. $60 got you every game on the Ouya, not only at the time, but for the course of the next year. That's a phenomenal deal. If they offer it again for either that price or about $80, I'd say it's worth it, because so many games on the system, as you can tell by my channel, aren't really worth replaying. Some are, but the vast majority are just quick little games where it's like, it's okay on a mobile device. If you're in a doctor's office, you might play a tablet platformer for a few minutes just to kill some time. And sure, you can go with an emulation of Mario World or whatever, but of course you're playing with makeshift mobile controls versus something where it's made for mobile, made for that configuration. And it's a little bit less in-depth, but still fun. And then if you had controller support, it's even more fun. A lot of the stuff I've sideloaded that had controller support wound up being fantastic, and almost 16-bit quality, or something where you'd pay $5 for it on Steam and be satisfied. Hello. I love this kitty. She is awesome. She is a very cute and very old cat. Hi, buddy. Anyway. That's it. Okay, Spud. Hang on, buddy. Hang on. Come here. Oh, yeah, there's my Fly Hardcore Gamer shirt, and there's my Fly Kitty Cat. All right, baby. What do you want to do? All right, just walk along. There you go. Oh, this little thing. She sees a camera and she is like, "Hey, I'm here." Last night we were recording the Hardcore Gamer show, and that should go up in a couple days. And she decided to chime in when Matt Whitaker was expressing an opinion, and she loudly meowed. And he rudely, I feel, told her to shut up, which I don't believe she deserved. She's a sweet little kitty, and she did not mean any offense, was what she was saying. But back to EA Access programs, which have nothing to do with my cat or the Hardcore Gamer Show in theory. We did bring up the main topic of discussion for the news was the EA Access stuff. We also brought up Studio Ghibli's issues and things like that, how that'll affect gaming. So it's, I don't think it was our best show. I think last week's show is probably one of the better shows we've ever done, but it gets better towards the second half. With these EA Access programs, people are going to be wondering, is it worth the money? I think if you're a casual player of EA stuff, I personally fall into this category. I don't play many EA games. I generally will get 1 or 2 a year, and they'll be last year's games. Like Battlefield 4, I didn't even mean to buy that. I just bought it for someone else, and I didn't know they didn't allow you to gift digital codes like Steam does. And so when I bought it, it was tied to my account, and I couldn't gift it. And I was like, well, okay, out the, $30 I think, or 25. I'm out whatever it cost me, which was not the most pleasant surprise. But I haven't even played that yet. I've done a few games of Battlefield 3 when I got that in the Origin bundle. And then I think, well, everyone got it when it was on the house. And really, it's one of those things where I don't play many shooters. I don't play many EA games. EA UFC I of course have, but if it wasn't UFC or MMA, I wouldn't really have bought it. I don't really, EA's kind of overly sterile, menus and everything, and their whole game design is a little off-putting to me, and I thought that back. Even with EA MMA, which I still love, and it's still a very good game in a lot of ways, it still was a little generic feeling, and it was very much hurt by them lacking the UFC license, and then they get the UFC license, and it didn't feel like a UFC game to me. But I'm sure we'll see EA Access for that roll out in about 6 months. That's my estimate for these. It seems like they're going with everything that's launch era right now for the Xbox One, and I think we're going to see a similar 6 to 8 month timeline for things. Spud's being adorable. I appreciate she's rolling around. I think we're going to see a similar 6 to 8 month timeline for releases. And I also, on Hardcore Gamer articles, and I'll put links down below, for Ubisoft, Activision, and even Capcom, and how these companies could really maximize profits, because you've got games that are older, and you can, in the case of like the Activision lineup, one thing that shocked me when I was going through all their games, and a rough listing of it, not everything, but I thought, okay, if they were to, let's say, launch this on PC, I think it would do better than on console, because console gamers are more used to Activision's lineup being that $5 to $10 GameStop fodder by now. And so you're just not in the mood to pay a lot over the course of a year for it. You're more, I'll spend the $10 now and that'll be it. With Activision, I was shocked at how lean their lineup was as far as quality beyond the Call of Duty games. You've got Call of Duty, and that's arguably really good. I enjoyed Ghosts. I enjoyed Modern Warfare 3. I enjoyed Black Ops 1 and 2. And I find the Call of Duty shooters to be fun, but they're not things I'm willing to sink my time into. I don't personally care for them that much. If you do, great, that's fine. I don't. But I will acknowledge they are very good, largely. And when I looked at their lineup beneath it, I was like, wow, there's a huge drop-off. You've got, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2, granted not their development, but still, they're publishing it, their name's on the product. And when you go to their Steam page, guess what? It's on there. So I'm throwing that in there, in their basket, because they're paying the money to license the Spider-Man rights, so it's fair game. I wouldn't pay for a program for them. I don't think their games as a whole are good enough to warrant it. Many of them, like Amazing Spider-Man 2, are disposable. You could get that for $5 to $10, beat it in a weekend, and you're done with it. You're never going to want to play this game again. The Call of Duty games at least do give you constant content in terms of new maps and also new items, new weapons. And that's a bunch of crap because, it used to all be free, but that's the different model, Industry changed for the worse in that regard. You used to get a lot more value for your dollar. Now you really don't. You do have to be a cheapskate to do that. You have to. It's really an industry that's kind of eating itself, because you have a model where you can get games now for next to nothing in these bundles. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have these overpriced things. Like, you can get the $120 version of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Why? Because you can. And there's no physical stuff with it. And last year you could pay, I think it was $200 for the Prestige Edition of Ghost. And you got a camera. You got a really high quality camcorder for that money. That alone, that right there is worth $200. And you also got, some kind of zip line thing or some crap. It was a wristband of some sort. And the game and some steelbook. So that's fine. You just perceived value and all that stuff. To me, a steelbook, I've had those things fall apart when I bought them, after the fact. But still, to me, it's like, okay, if it was a really well-made piece of equipment or piece of electronics, or anything, it wouldn't fall apart within a couple years. And I've had that happen with some things I bought used where the hinges got loose, and it's a concern. because you're spending all this money for this extra crap that's not really worth it. Now with Capcom, I think they could really make a lot of money on something like this, because here you've got a company with Mega Man, they've got all these really worthwhile IPs, and they want to make money on it. But, you know, and you really do that. You know, you've got game streaming services or game downloading services like PSN and PS Now to do that for, where you get a little bit from Sony for all those things, making like the Resident Evils free for a while like they did on the PS1 games. That's a good way to make a little bit of money, but it's not reliable. And, you know, they're trying to find ways to monetize the IP. They've got not only Mega Man that they could make use of, but they've got all these sub-series of Mega Man we're not even seeing used. We're not seeing Star Force, we're not seeing ZX, we're not seeing Zero, we're not seeing anything. And I think there's some real money if they were to do, like, you know, the portable collection. We've seen the 3DS get some stuff. Put them all on 3DS, put them all on the Wii U. I personally want to see them on the Wii U because, yeah, they're DS games up to it's Star Force, I think. You can put those on the Wii U with its, they're emulating GBA. What am I thinking of? Well, either way, you know, they eventually will have DS emulation, and that'll probably work out pretty well on the Wii U. You know, you can use the controller as the controller, and then, you know, you've got the gamepad screen as your second screen on your bottom screen. That'll work out just fine. And that's actually, you know, pretty much a perfect lineup, you know, a perfect system for it. Hopefully we see that soon, but I want to see, you know, Capcom make some money on these Mega Man games. I want to see a new Mega Man game out there, even if it's not a tippy top level game for them. I just want it to be out there. I think that Street Fighter Cross Mega Man was a way to show and a way to gauge that there is interest in this series, and there's a lot of it, and they just don't know what to do with it right now. And I think Capcom is so tone deaf as a company. They just, you know, they're not putting out things that people want. They're going back to Street Fighter 4, which is fine, but I mean, my God, they're cracking jokes in Dead Rising 3 about all of their wacky names they've attached just to Street Fighter. You know, and they're doing it again while they're referencing how ridiculous it is. It's just, it's a little strange, you know, but they are at least offering up a lot of value to people with things like making arcade edition of Super Street Fighter 4 free. You know, that was a nice move on 360. And the 360 Game with Gold thing, I think, is a fantastic way for companies to release older content, get interest in something new. In that case, they were trying to, you know, hype up Ultra Street Fighter 4. So it's like, okay, we'll give away the prior game, and, you know, we're going to make the packaged version of it available for Ultra, and if you get this free download, hey, it's only $20. Now, of course, if you're just now getting it, you're going to be fine, you're going to be satiated with this, but, you know, hey, if you're really blown away by it, pick it up down the line when it's on sale. You know, it'll eventually drop to 15, 20, or 15 or 10, you know. I think there's actually a bit of money in a rare back catalog service like this. Microsoft really should be making use of this. They haven't done that yet at all with Rare. They've done the Banjo-Kazooie games. The closest we've gotten to that is the new Banjo bundle they put out, where it's Kazooie and Tooie. That's nice. That's a good value for your money. I personally bought it for $15. But it's something where they should be putting out everything that they have the rights to. And this could be tricky, like Battletoads. They should, in theory, have the rights to everything. I would put out the arcade game. You know, it just seems weird to me. I can get that. I can put that on my Ouya now, illegally, but I can't buy it. You know, you can't purchase this game. It would be perfect on Xbox Live Arcade and PSN. And as we've seen, just because something is available on MAME doesn't mean it doesn't sell well. We saw Spider-Man do fairly, not Spider-Man, Simpsons do fairly well on there, and Dungeons and Dragons games, I assume did fairly well. They've been on sale a couple times, and they should have made some money back, you know. I wouldn't mind seeing Cadillacs and Dinosaurs on there. A little early I'm recording this. It's late podcast recording night. I'm a little tired. And I just went to the post office to mail out some packages, so yeah, it's been a busy day so far. With Capcom, you have tons of IP that they can use and monetize monthly. You know, they've got the Devil May Cry games. Hey, if you don't like DMC, and I personally do, but if you don't, you know, if you prefer the original Devil May Cry series, well, here you go for $5 a month, 10. I think Capcom could charge 10 if it was. And another thing is cross-platform. You know, how do you how do you make this available? Steam is really the best value because you can use it on multiple devices. You can use it on your laptop, you can use it on your PC, on your desktop. If you have a SteamWorks tablet, you can use it there. It's the better value and has more stuff on it, but there are also some things you can't do with it. There are some things that aren't on, all the platforms, I think. I'm pretty sure you can't get, like, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the HD version on Steam. Yeah. But if you can, hey, great. That'd be the best way to get it. But I'm pretty sure you can't do that. So there are issues with that. And if they're console exclusive setups, then I guess you really should only do it $5 a month because people are already paying about that for their PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold. And that's a cost, folks. I mean, everyone feels like, oh, I can do $10 a month. I did that for a while. I did Hulu. I did Netflix. I have my PS Plus. I have my Xbox games with Gold. I have WWE Network. I have a Figure 4 Weekly Wrestling Observer subscription. But I had to nix some of those because it just got to be too much of a burden. And a Torch subscription at one point. So I had a Pro Wrestling Torch one. So I had tons of these monthly things, and you rationalize, well, it's only pennies per day. Exactly. But it's very, very vociferous about this opinion. And it's a very small amount of money per day, but it adds up per month. And it adds up annually. And you can go with an annual subscription and knock a couple bucks off per month, like UFC's doing with Fight Pass. But, this cat's a trip. But, you're still paying a lot of money over the course of a year. And, it's a mistake to have all these services. Thank you, Spud. You're very vociferous. You're very, very opinionated on this. Not often you have a cat that's this smart. She's a very financially responsible cat. Which is ironic given how expensive her food is. But she's worth it. Alright, I'm going to cut this video off because Spud's not going to let me record. But I'll do something later today on more access plans. Take care.